On a rainy night, a mysterious woman walks through the streets, clutching her newborn baby. As some strange men search for her, the mysterious woman stops to rest, sheltering herself from the rain. Another woman appears and asks her what she's doing. The mysterious woman tells her to go home, but instead, she asks the woman to watch her baby for a moment while she goes to get some milk. The woman stays with the baby as the mother disappears into the night, and in the distance, mysterious explosions light up the sky. 18 years later, that child has grown into a young man named Lu Shu. He's visiting a festival with his half-sister, Lu Xiaoyu, who asks him to buy her some sweets. Lu Shu, however, reminds her that they're there to buy some clothes and that they can't waste money irresponsibly, especially since they need to save up for her school fees. Despite his initial reluctance, he gives into her pressure and buys her some sweets. As they stroll through the festival, Lu Shu overhears people talking about various incidents involving humans performing supernatural feats. It strikes him as odd that these rumors are becoming more and more common. The siblings then decide to watch a street magician's show where the performer manipulates fire. Lu Shu, unable to see due to the crowd, pushes his way to the front. Suddenly, he's caught off guard by the flames, and for a few seconds, time seems to freeze around him. A mysterious magic emanating from an amulet his mother left him envelopes him. Not fully understanding what just happened, Lu Shu continues watching the show, wondering whether the fire was a trick or real magic. After the performance, the two siblings sneak backstage, hoping to learn a few tricks from the magician. To their shock, they witness a group of mysterious individuals shoot the magician with a tranquilizer dart. The mysterious men spot Lu Shu and Xiaoyu, and the two try to play it off by saying they were just looking for the bathroom. The men respond that the circus was operating illegally, which is why they were taking the magician for questioning. Neither side fully believes the other's story, but they part ways without conflict. As the siblings try to leave, they are confronted by Ji Wei, a mysterious man who asks them what happened inside the tent. However, they brush him off and walk away, with Lu Shu suspecting that the magician had real powers and that the men weren't legitimate authorities. Back at home, Lu Shu and Xiaoyu discuss the state of the world and the possibility of special individuals with supernatural abilities. Xiaoyu teases him, asking what he would do if he were one of them. He jokes that he'd fight and defeat them, but she reminds him that he's always been too weak and would easily lose. Later, while Xiaoyu watches TV, seeing news about people with special abilities, Lu Shu prepares dinner. Realizing they're out of ingredients, he heads out into the cold to buy noodles. As he walks, he reminisces about his childhood and how he and Xiaoyu had once escaped from an orphanage together. Distracted by his thoughts, Lu Shu doesn't notice a truck approaching, and he gets hit. Everything goes black. Lu Shu finds himself floating in a void. Suddenly, his powers activate, and he returns to life with the ability to see people's stats. Miraculously, he returns home without any injuries. Once home, he starts analyzing his newfound abilities, which appear as a hologram that offers rewards in exchange for a price. Whenever he interacts with someone, he earns points, which he can trade for skills. However, when he uses the skills on a roulette system, he wastes them. He soon realizes that there's more to his powers than meets the eye. That night, things seem to return to normal, until the mysterious men from the festival show up at their home, climbing onto the roof, watching them from above. On the roof of his house, a frightened Lu Shu immediately recognizes the mysterious men. He tries to flee, but is quickly discovered. The men ask him what he's doing on his roof at this hour, to which Lu Shu replies that he lives there and was looking for some nuts. One of the men tells their leader that Lu Shu is a normal, and the leader lets him go, warning him that rooftops are dangerous at night. Lu Shu returns inside as the men leave, but he realizes something strange. He could sense that they were special individuals, yet they couldn't detect anything unusual about him. Just as it seems the danger has passed, a man falls from the sky right in front of their house. To their surprise, it's the fire magician from the festival. The magician looks weak, and Lu Shu deduces that he might be responsible for the fire that's been all over the news, possibly started to aid his escape. Lu Shu also realizes that the magician is faking unconsciousness, as he can see the man's stats and notices that every time he angers him, Lu Shu gains points. That's when it clicks. His power lies in absorbing energy from the people he annoys. The more irritated and uncomfortable he makes them, the more power he accumulates, which he can later exchange for special abilities through his magical roulette system. Testing this theory, Lu Shu deliberately angers the magician, who tries to burn him with his powers. Oddly, the flames have no effect on Lu Shu, who feels nothing. Realizing that Lu Shu might be far more powerful than he appears, the magician thanks him and quickly leaves the house. Later in his room, Lu Shu absorbs a pill, a result of the energy he's collected, and discovers that he now has super strength. With a clear understanding of how his powers work, Lu Shu begins focusing on collecting more negative energy. And what better place to do this than the school group chat? He sends a message that quickly earns him the hatred of everyone. The next morning, before heading to school, Lu Shu sells eggs to support both himself and his sister. As his class classmates pass by on their way to school, some ignore him, while others mock him for his humble lifestyle. But now, with his new powers, Lu Shu is able to annoy them in return and collect some extra power in the process. Eventually, Lu Shu tricks one of his classmates into buying all of his eggs with the help of his quiet and beautiful classmate, Chao Qing Ci. In class, the students watch a video that not only confirms the existence of people with superpowers but also categorizes them. Lu Shu learns that he is classified as an F-class superhuman with super strength. Just then, the students find out that one of their classmates has recently awakened his powers and has become aggressive after a mandatory blood test revealed he is special. The men in black, as Lu Shu calls them, arrive at the school to deal with the newly awakened superhuman. Lu Shu goes to watch and discovers that Chao Qing Ci also has powers, though she keeps them hidden. On the school rooftop, the student threatens to throw one of the teachers off the edge, but Lu Shu distracts him long enough for the men in black to subdue him. After the incident, Lu Shu returns to class only to find that they are now conducting blood tests on his class as well. Although he tries to escape by making up an excuse, he fails and has to take the test. On his way home, Lu Shu runs into Ji Wei again but ignores him, as usual. That night, he uses his roulette ability to summon a magical fruit that heals his sister's cold. The next day, the blood test results are revealed, and the teacher reads a list of students who tested positive for special abilities. He also introduces Master Shifei, who will be teaching them about their powers. Lu Shu grows concerned when he realizes that Shifei is the same man who was on his roof a few nights ago, unsure of what his intentions might be. The teacher announces the names, including Chao Qing Ci and, much to everyone's surprise, Lu Shu. Meanwhile, in another part of the world, a mysterious man battles two superpowered individuals in a desolate wasteland, easily defeating them with little effort. The next day, as the men in black settle into the school, a new student with special abilities joins Lu Shu's class. His name is Jiang Shui, and he ends up sitting next to our protagonist. Ever since Lu Shu discovered that his powers are fueled by annoying others, he's become a bit of a troublemaker, which has made him unpopular with his classmates. But the new guy doesn't know this yet. At night, the special students attend classes in the school auditorium, where Shifei explains the nature of their powers. It turns out their abilities come from a mysterious element known as NAK. This element has always existed in small amounts, but recently it's been saturating the planet, causing the rise of superhuman. Additionally, those with special abilities can cultivate NAK, which will allow them to level up their powers. When NAK in its liquid form comes into contact with the blood of a special person, it turns black. The darker the color, the more powerful the person is, and Lu Shu's NAK test turned out to be the lightest in color, indicating he's the weakest among the students. The class representative, who enjoys mocking Lu Shu, tests as the strongest student. This gives him an excuse to bully Lu Shu, laughing at his weak results. Jiang Shui asks Lu Shu if this doesn't bother him, but Lu Shu brushes it off, making fun of the class rep in return and absorbing his negative energy. At home, Lu Shu realizes that the reason his test results were so low is because he had eaten a purification fruit earlier, which cleansed his energy. This calms him, as he worries about what the men in black would do if they knew the true extent of his powers. He also discovers that while the purification fruit is no longer available in the lottery, it is still in the shop, meaning he can purchase it if needed. Additionally, the removal of the fruit from the lottery opens up space for new items. Lu Shu tests his luck again and manages to summon not only several plates of stinky tofu but also a scroll that grants powers to Lu Xiaoyu. Back in his room, he summons a magical knife, adding it to his growing arsenal of abilities. The next day at school, rumors circulate that some superpowered individuals are organizing themselves to commit crimes. The class rep suggests that the school should form a hero team to combat this threat. Despite his weak reputation, they even invite Lu Shu to join, but he mocks the idea. That night, in the special class, Shifei introduces the students to spiritual stones, which will help them cultivate more magic and increase their power. However, when Lu Shu tries to use one at home, he discovers that his power is too raw for the stone to channel. Now he's unsure how he'll explain this to Shifei. The following day, on his way to school, Lu Shu runs into his elderly neighbor who is practicing swordsmanship. The old man offers to train him, but Lu Shu declines and continues with his day. At school, Lu Shu learns more about the spiritual stones, showing off his super strength in front of his classmates. He also makes some inquiries about the organization Shifei is a part of. That night, a group of mysterious men visit his elderly neighbor, and Lu Shu realizes the old man is far more than he appears. The next day, Lu Shu decides to improve his abilities and asks the old man where he learned swordsmanship. The elderly neighbor responds that swordsmanship isn't the only thing he knows, shows he's skilled in many areas, and he's willing to teach. Lu Shu agrees, but in reality, he's more interested in finding a tutor for his sister so he can continue his work uninterrupted. At school, many students are alarmed by the increasing number of superhumans using their powers for evil. But Lu Shu has something else on his mind. He's busy collecting negative energy from his elderly neighbor without even being in his presence. He also discovers that among all the special students, Chao Qing Ci stands out as the best. Her skill with the spiritual stones makes her the most powerful among the cultivators. Back at home, Lu Shu finds his sister, Lu Xiaoyu, and the elderly neighbor arguing about math. The old man gets frustrated, generating negative energy, which means more power for Lu Shu. He realizes that his sister can also generate negative energy, but he's the one absorbing it. This works out perfectly, especially since Lu Xiaoyu has a natural talent for making everyone around her angry. Once the tutoring session with Lu Xiaoyu is over, the old man proceeds to teach Lu Shu swordsmanship. Lu Shu comments that all this training isn't necessary now that he has super strength, but the old man explains that swordsmanship and power go beyond raw strength. To demonstrate, he absorbs energy from some birds and turns a simple sheet of paper into a sharp blade. This motivates Lu Shu to take his training more seriously, and over time, he becomes quite skilled. During a break, the two have a conversation, and the old man gives him the Uncle Ben speech, telling him that as he grows more powerful, he'll have more responsibilities. He asks Lu Shu how powerful he wants to become. Lu Shu responds that he's not sure, as he doesn't want responsibilities or to take care of anyone other than his sister. He explains that since they were kids, it's always been them against the world, and he doesn't plan on changing that. The old man understands Lu Shu's point of view and leaves him be, but not before asking him for a favor. The next day, while at school, Lu Shu senses a strange presence and rushes home, where he finds a mysterious man dressed in white talking to the old man, trying to recruit him to his cause, just like the man in black had tried nights earlier. The man in white seems like a better person, but Lu Shu remains unconvinced, sensing something suspicious about him. Later that night, both Lu Shu and Lu Xiaoyu level up once again. Lu Shu becomes invulnerable, while Lu Xiaoyu gains the ability to create constructs from the spirits of dead animals, almost like ghostly figures made of black energy. However, she can only summon one at a time. The two head to a slaughterhouse, and back home, Lu Xiaoyu summons the spirit of a pig. Lu Shu tests if he can kill it again, and he successfully does so using his special knife. That evening, the siblings watch the news, where a group of superhumans are causing chaos and fighting with the authorities. Lu Shu decides to go check it out. Lu Xiaoyu insists on going too, and although Lu Shu initially refuses, she convinces him by promising not to interfere. Together, they head to the city bridge, where a squad of men in black, led by Shi Fei, is battling a group of superhumans and their intimidating leader. The men in black engage in battle against the criminals, but while the villains lack formal training, they make up for it with sheer power, proving to be a greater challenge than expected. Lu Shu and his sister, Lu Xiaoyu, watch the fight from a distance. The men in black are skilled and work well as a team, even managing to take down a few of the villains. However, their overconfidence leads to two of their own being killed by the superhumans before the criminals flee. Curious to see how things will unfold and wanting to help, Lu Shu tells his sister to go home. Reluctantly, Lu Xiaoyu agrees to leave. Lu Shu follows the criminals to an abandoned building, which is now surrounded by police. Some of the criminals suggest surrendering, but their leader assures them that he'll help them escape. He faces off against the police and the men in black once again. Just as the criminal leader is about to make his escape, one of the men in black manages to injure and immobilize him. However, this victory is short-lived. The men in black spot Lu Shu, noticing the faint blue glow around him. Mistaking him for one of the criminals, they resume the battle, this time against Lu Shu. Despite being much stronger, Lu Shu struggles due to the men in black's superior numbers, forcing him to exert extra effort. This results in an explosion that injures several members of the security force. The criminal leader, having survived, assumes that Lu Shu is on his side. Lu Shu quickly corrects him, taking him down with his magical knife. Realizing the mess he's created, Lu Shu decides it's best to leave the scene before anyone identifies him. He hurries back home, hoping to avoid any more trouble. When he returns, Lu Xiaoyu greets him, worried. Lu Shu reassures her that he's fine and then suggests they go out for a while, wanting to test something. They end up in an alley, where Lu Xiaoyu attempts to absorb the spirit of a deceased person. Unlike with the pig, she's unable to summon the spirit this time, as she needs to level up first. She promises she'll get there soon. Afterward, the two head out for dinner. During their meal, Lu Shu tells his sister that he's concerned for her safety and suggests that maybe she should go back to the orphanage. This deeply hurts Lu Xiaoyu, who bursts into tears, feeling as if her brother, the only person who has always been been by her side, is rejecting her. Realizing his mistake, Lu Shu promises that they will always be together and that they'll create the home they deserve. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, the mysterious group trying to recruit Lu Shu's elderly neighbor analyzes the battle from earlier that night. They detect the presence of a C-class cultivator but are unable to identify who it is, as Lu Shu managed to hide his identity. The higher-ups, however, are determined to find him before their rivals do and assign one of their agents the task of tracking him down. Sometime later, Lu Xiaoyu wakes up in the middle of the night and goes to Lu Shu's room with a surprise. She's managed to summon the spirit of the criminal gang leader, just as she had promised. Now, not only does she have a super powerful bodyguard, besides her brother, but she's also gained access to some of his memories, including the location of the stolen loot. Lu Xiaoyu insists on going to retrieve the loot, but Lu Shu explains that although they'll go find it, it's not to keep, it's to return it. This frustrates her since she wants the money to buy a house, but Lu Shu reassures her, saying that will happen, but they just need a bit more time. The next day at school, rumors start spreading about a change. A new principal is coming. It turns out to be none other than the man from the mysterious organization that Shifei works for. However, unlike Shifei, Li Xiao has a more laid-back attitude and is more focused on figuring out how to scam others for money, something Lu Shu quickly notices, along with the fact that he's very powerful. Later, Lu Shu learns from Jiang Shui that he can sell charged crystals for a high price. He starts making some money, allowing him to save up and keep the promise he made to his sister. Lu Shu manages to gather enough cash and tells his sister they'll soon have their own house. He even gives her a cell phone for emergencies. Meanwhile, Li Xiao visits Lu Shu's neighbor to ensure the old man hasn't picked the wrong side in the upcoming conflict. The old man reassures him that he's staying neutral. The next day, Li Xiao runs into Lu Shu again and tries to scam him for some food, but when one of the vendors scolds him, the principal changes his mind and walks away. And so, another day ends, with Lu Shu returning home to rest alongside his younger sister. At night, the class of special students travels down an abandoned road in armored trucks. The air is thick with tension and anticipation. Intrigued by the situation, Lu Shu breaks the silence and asks where they're headed. Jiang Shui, Lu Shu's classmate and friend, explains that they're going to a place known as the Ruins. The government has decided to send these novice students to guard the area around the ruins while the experts venture inside the mysterious structure. The ruins, according to legend, are ancient constructions of unknown origin. Some claim they come from an extraterrestrial civilization, while others believe they are something even more mysterious, defying the laws of nature. These ruins appear unpredictably, materializing anywhere in the world without warning. Governments and organizations across the globe have become fascinated with these sites due to the immense treasures they contain. Inside the ruins, explorers can find powerful weapons, magical tools, and artifacts that challenge human understanding. However, they also house deadly dangers, hostile creatures, and traps that could kill anyone unprepared. The center of each ruin contains what every explorer desires most, the Eye of the Matrix. This object not only grants unimaginable power to its possessor, but also has the ability to close the ruin forever. However, acquiring it is no easy task. Many lives have been lost in the fierce battles over the eye. Jiang Shui tells Lu Shu that only one ruin has been opened in recent times. Warriors from around the world fought in an epic battle for the eye, and the victor was a mysterious man, an incredibly powerful superhuman known to be part of the Men in Black, also called Tian Luo. Most striking of all is that this man possesses a weapon in the form of a sword, said to be one of the most powerful ever seen. This story leaves Lu Shu deep in thought, imagining the power and glory that must come with such a weapon. Finally, the group arrives at the camp near the ruins. The students are given food and briefed on the importance of the mission. Although they're officially there as part of their training, everyone knows their real job is to protect the perimeter while the experts explore the interior. The mission is highly sensitive and must remain a secret. During dinner, one of the students stands out for his arrogance, refusing to sit on the ground like everyone else. Instead, he demands a chair, showing disdain for his peers. Lu Shu, who can't stand people with superiority complexes, doesn't hesitate to slap him unconscious. This act, instead of causing trouble, seems to impress some, including Shifei, a superior who had already noticed the student's unpleasant attitude. That night, the group meditates and cultivates energy, a common practice among the special students. However, Lu Shu's cultivation method is different from the others. His system relies on negative energy, meaning he has to annoy or irritate someone to make progress. Seizing the opportunity, Lu Shu decides to pester the class delegate, gathering the negative energy he needs. The next morning, Lu Shu is surprised to find that, instead of being punished for his slapped, he's treated to some perks. He's given an extra portion of food, and they even offer him the much requested chair. But he declines, choosing to sit on the ground with his friends. This only boosts his confidence and that of his peers. Lu Shu also feels more powerful, having reached a new level in his cultivation. The camp's peace is shattered when a dense fog begins to rise from the ruins, quickly covering the area. Seeing the danger, Shifei orders everyone to flee immediately. However, for many students, including Lu Shu, it's too late. The thick, mysterious fog envelopes them, separating them from their companions and transporting them to a completely different environment. Lu Shu wakes up on a mountain, disoriented and alone. Before he can react, a monstrous creature resembling a zombie attacks him, hurling an axe. Thanks to his abilities and quick reflexes, Lu Shu decapitates the zombie and defeats it. As he surveys his surroundings, he realizes he's been transported inside the ruin. Now surrounded by a horde of zombies, he must fight to survive. The creatures relentlessly chase him, forcing him to defend himself as he searches for a way out. Along the way, Lu Shu finds some of his classmates who are also being attacked by the zombies. Without hesitation, he joins the battle, beheading the creatures and saving his friends. Although his primary concern is finding those he hasn't seen yet, the group decides that their best option is to stick together and wait for the ruin to close, as venturing out alone would be extremely dangerous. But Lu Shu isn't willing to sit idle. After assessing the situation, he decides his best course of action is to keep exploring the ruin in search of answers and to help any more companions who might need it. Before leaving, he gives his weapon to his friends and explains the best way to defeat the skeletons attacking them, giving them a chance to survive in his absence. Inside the ruins, our protagonist, Lu Shu, fights tirelessly, facing endless hordes of undead that seem to appear from all directions. Every step he takes plunges him deeper into uncertainty, as he has no idea where he's heading. Though his skills and abilities keep him alive, he knows that if he doesn't find an exit or at least a clue soon, he might be trapped in the ruins forever. The fear of dying there only fuels his determination to find the Eye of the Matrix, the only artifact that could seal the ruins and guarantee his survival. As he moves forward, Lu Shu notices a strange trail, a line of vultures circling in the sky, as if drawn to something specific. Intrigued, he follows them until he stumbles upon the lifeless body of one of his classmates. It's not just anyone, it's the student who, during dinner at camp, had demanded a chair instead of sitting on the ground like everyone else. Seeing the body, Lu Shu feels a mix of compassion and cold indifference. He knows there's nothing he can do for him, but the sight reminds him of how fragile life is in this place. Determined not to meet the same fate, Lu Shu promises himself that he won't die here and will find the Eye of the Matrix to make it out alive. With this goal in mind, Lu Shu starts running, leaving the body behind and plunging even further into the vast, hostile expanse of the ruin, where nothing seems to make sense. After a while, something in the sky catches his eye, a red light shining in the distance. Thinking it might be an enemy, he prepares to attack, but soon realizes it's not what he expected. The light isn't from an enemy, but from a flare fired by another student. This event puzzles Lu Shu. Why would someone fire a flare in such a dangerous place? Moreover, the flare gun used wasn't just any weapon, it was a high-tech, state-of-the-art device, far too advanced for a regular student. This raises Lu Shu's suspicions. Maybe not everyone at the camp was who they claimed to be. It doesn't take long for him to uncover the truth. The blonde boy who fired the flare isn't just an ordinary student, he's a member of an elite group, a mysterious organization whose primary goal is to capture the Eye of the Matrix at any cost. For this group, the students and their mission are merely a front. Lu Shu quickly realizes he's dealing with a spy, and knowing how dangerous he can be, he decides to play his own game. Pretending to be the class delegate, Lu Shu tricks the blonde boy into thinking he's much weaker than he really is, a strategy to divert suspicion and lower the spy's expectations. The blonde, eager to complete his mission, suggests that Lu Shu should go find his classmates. However, instead of doing that, Lu Shu insists on following him, which irritates the spy. Throughout their journey together, Lu Shu seizes every opportunity to annoy the blonde, using his cultivation method that relies on negative energy. The more frustrated the spy becomes, the stronger Lu Shu gets, as he absorbs the energy to increase his power. Tension between the two rises until, after days of battling zombies and going without food, the spy finally reaches his breaking point. In a fit of rage, the blonde attacks Lu Shu, revealing himself to be a much more dangerous warrior than Lu Shu had anticipated. However, in a fierce fight, Lu Shu manages to defend himself and ultimately kills the spy in self-defense. Staring at the lifeless body, Lu Shu realizes he had been up against someone far more skilled than he expected, leaving him with a bitter feeling of having been underestimated. As vultures begin to circle once again, this time drawn to the spy's body, Lu Shu vows not to let the ruins become his grave. He thinks of his sister, whom he has promised to return to, and this gives him the strength to keep going. There's no time for rest or regret, there's still much to do. Later, Lu Shu arrives in a wooded area within the ruin, where he finds a tree bearing apples. Hungry and exhausted, he decides to take a few to recover. However, However, in doing so, he angers some squirrels that, surprisingly, seem to have human-like intelligence. The little creatures don't take kindly to anyone stealing their precious apples and react aggressively. Though Lu Shu manages to escape from the squirrels, the incident serves as a reminder of just how unpredictable and dangerous these ruins can be. Shortly after, Lu Shu encounters a pack of wolves, forcing him to flee at top speed. He runs for a long time until he finally manages to lose the animals, but the chase leaves him utterly exhausted. During his escape, he stumbles upon a group of students who had been previously attacked, the same ones he had thrown an axe at during the zombie fight. These students are gravely injured and starving, shocked to see that Lu Shu appears unharmed and even his food. Desperate to survive, the group sees Lu Shu as a strong and capable figure and offers him leadership of the group. However, Lu Shu isn't interested in taking on that responsibility. Despite their pleas, he refuses to share his food or weapons, which creates resentment among the students. This hatred, far from bothering him, only increases his power as he feeds off the negative energy his actions provoke. After resting and regaining his strength, Lu Shu decides it's time to move on. His goal remains clear: find the Eye of the Matrix and return home to his sister. As Lu Shu explores the dangerous ruins, his mind briefly wanders, thinking about his sister and wondering how she's doing. Uncertainty floods him, but he knows he can't afford to get distracted in such a hostile environment. His thoughts are abruptly interrupted when a mounted undead warrior suddenly appears and attacks him fiercely. This skeletal warrior proves to be a formidable opponent. Although Lu Shu has faced many enemies before, none have shown as much combat skill as this rider. Despite his best efforts, Lu Shu realizes he can't defeat the skeleton easily. However, in a quick, skillful move, he manages to snatch the lance from the warrior just before reinforcements arrive. As more skeleton soldiers join the attack, launching a barrage of arrows at him, Lu Shu uses his agility to take cover. Fortunately, the skeletons don't pursue him, seemingly not viewing him as enough of a threat to continue the chase. With the lance now added to his arsenal, Lu Shu realizes he has a powerful new weapon. He knows that conventional weapons aren't always effective against the enemies in the ruins. Meanwhile, Shifei's group, who is also exploring the ruins, encounters the same skeleton warriors. These soldiers don't appear to be acting of their own will, they seem to be obeying a leader. Shifei and his team come up with a plan to defeat them. Knowing that normal weapons won't work on the skeletal soldiers, they decide to use a sniper to take out the leader. Shifei believes that once the leader is eliminated, the rest of the soldiers will scatter, making them easier to defeat. When they spot a skeleton without a lance, they assume it must be the leader. However, what Shifei and his team don't realize is that this skeleton is actually the one from whom Lu Shu stole the lance, so the sniper shot has no effect. The attack fails, and Shifei's group is forced to retreat, having wasted their one shot. Determined not to fail again, Shifei and his team plan to set a trap for the skeleton. But just as they're about to execute their plan, they notice something unexpected. One of the students is on the battlefield. Alarmed, they scramble to organize a rescue mission. What they see, however, leaves them completely shocked. The student in the midst of the battle is none other than Lu Shu, and to their amazement, they see him single-handedly taking on an entire battalion of skeleton soldiers. The men in black, also known as Tian Luo, watch in disbelief. Despite being outnumbered, Lu Shu shows extraordinary skill and strength, defeating each skeleton with unmatched precision. The other students watching are equally impressed, with some recognizing him immediately. They mention that he had only recently awakened his abilities, which would explain his remarkable performance in the battle. Meanwhile, the skeleton soldiers, though defeated, refuse to give up and frantically search for the enemy who has been causing them so much trouble. Lu Shu, for his part, has hidden himself strategically in the trees, using the opportunity to recharge his energy. He knows he needs to be at full strength if he wants to survive. After a brief rest, Lu Shu continues his journey through the desolate wasteland. However, it doesn't take long for him to realize he's walked into a trap. The skeleton warriors have surrounded him, forming a circle. Despite the odds being against him, Lu Shu doesn't back down. Armed with the stolen lance and his growing power, Lu Shu confidently confronts the skeletons. He not only defeats the common soldiers, but also takes down the leader, securing another hard-earned victory. With his enemies vanquished, Lu Shu takes a moment to meditate, recharging his energy and leveling up once again. His connection to negative energy makes him stronger with each encounter, and he feels that he's getting closer to finding the Eye of the Matrix, his only ticket out of these ruins. Meanwhile, the men in black, who have been following the trail of bodies Lu Shu has left behind, start showing a special interest in him. They're no longer as concerned with finding the Eye of the Matrix. Now, they're more intrigued by this mysterious young man who has proven to be an unstoppable force within the ruins. Unaware that he's being watched, Lu Shu continues exploring without rest. Suddenly, the Tian Luo group senses the presence of more skeleton soldiers approaching. They prepare to ambush the new enemies, but before they can act, an overpowered Lu Shu bursts onto the scene. With little effort, he takes on the skeleton soldiers and defeats them with stunning ease, leaving the men in black watching from the shadows utterly astonished. After his crushing victory, Lu Shu steps forward and introduces himself to the men in black. Lu Shu reunites with the group of survivors, who enthusiastically congratulate him on his impressive combat skills. Everyone is amazed by the prowess he displayed while defeating numerous enemies in the ruins. However, Lu Shu, knowing he needs to accumulate negative energy to gain more power, quickly changes his attitude. Instead of basking in the praise, he becomes an annoying and negative presence for everyone. With a sly smile, he begins to irritate his companions by announcing that he won't share his weapons with them. Rather than working as a team and handing out weapons for free, he decides to sell them to the highest bidder. This behavior sparks discontent among his peers, but Lu Shu remains firm in his decision, aware that this situation will provide him with the negative energy he needs to keep growing stronger. By doing this, Lu Shu manages to trade his weapons for various valuable items that others possess, such as watches, jewelry, and other personal belongings. Although the teachers are deeply bothered by this mercantile behavior, there's nothing they can do since the weapons belong to Lu Shu, and technically, he has the right to do whatever he wants with them. Frustrated but powerless, the teachers have no choice but to let him continue with his trade, even though it creates tension within the group. As the group continues their journey toward the center of the ruins, they encounter a group of specters emerging from the darkness. However, instead of engaging in a fierce battle, the specters, sensing the powerful energy emanating from Lu Shu, decide not to fight. His aura is so intimidating that the usually dangerous creatures quickly flee. This unexpected turn of events surprises everyone, as they had expected a confrontation, but it also makes their advance toward the center of the ruins easier. Finally, the group reaches the heart of the ruin, where they find a gigantic hole in the ground. This pit seems to descend into the unknown depths of the ruin, and though everyone is eager to explore what lies beyond, they decide to wait. Before venturing further, they meet up with the other groups of survivors who have also arrived at the center. During this moment of rest and reunion, Lu Shu takes the opportunity to sell more weapons to those who don't have any. His little shop becomes the center of attention, and many students approach him, eager to get something that might help them survive the dangerous ruins. At this gathering, Lu Shu also hears rumors about another student who has greatly stood out in the fight against the enemies of the ruins. Her name is Qiaoqing Ci, a girl who has shown herself to be extremely talented and brave in combat. Unlike Lu Shu, Qiaoqing Ci doesn't bother selling her extra weapons. Instead, she gives them away to her companions, earning the respect and admiration of everyone. This selfless gesture contrasts sharply with Lu Shu's more self-interested attitude, causing some students to look at him with disdain. During this time, Lu Shu also reunites with Jiang Shui and the rest of his classmates. One of the students approaches him and asks for a weapon but proposes to buy it on credit since he doesn't have enough to pay at the moment. However, Lu Shu flatly refuses to accept the deal. First, because he doesn't work on credit, something he made clear from the start, but more importantly, because when Lu Shu examines the student's stats, he realizes something suspicious. This student is actually another spy infiltrated within the group. That night, while all the students rest, the camp spies secretly gather. Their goal is to descend into the gigantic pit in search of the coveted Eye of the Matrix, the legendary artifact that grants incredible power to whoever possesses it. However, the student who previously tried to buy a weapon on credit is intercepted by Lu Shu before he can join the other spies. Lu Shu confronts him, revealing that he knows full well that he's a spy. Rather than fight at that moment, Lu Shu proposes a deal. He suggests that instead of facing off, they work together to find the Eye of the Matrix, sell it, and split the profits. The spy, seeing an opportunity to profit, agrees to the deal, though he secretly plans to betray Lu Shu at the right moment. This act of treachery sparks a violent fight between the two, as Lu Shu is not willing to be fooled. The battle is swift but intense, with both proving to be formidable rivals. Meanwhile, the other spies continue advancing down the pit, getting closer to the Eye of the Matrix, unaware of the confrontation happening behind them. Instead of fighting the spy, Lu Shu chooses a smarter and more effective tactic. Rather than confronting him alone, he begins shouting, waking up all the students and alerting the men in black to the spy's presence. As Lu Shu's shouts echo through the camp, the others quickly rise, some surprised, others immediately preparing for a potential fight. The men in black, led by the school's headmaster, arrive in no time. With the situation exposed, the headmaster decides not to waste any more time and pushes forward with the exploration of the pit, a dangerous and mysterious place that had been avoided until now. Among the explorers descending into the pit are experienced warriors and only two students, the talented Qiaoqing Ci and, of course, Lu Shu. The headmaster, a cunning man, convinces Lu Shu to join the mission by offering him a deal he can't refuse. Although the official goal of the group isn't to take the Eye of the Matrix, there are rumors of great riches and treasures inside the pit that could change their lives. lives. After a tough negotiation between Lu Shu and the headmaster, they agree to split any profits 50-50. With this deal, Lu Shu agrees to join the mission, confident he'll benefit from the situation. Once the group of explorers descends into the dark, deep pit, they are met with a shocking scene. The spies, who had tried to get ahead of the others to claim the Eye of the Matrix, are all dead. They sit in a circle as if performing some sort of ritual, but their bodies show no signs of physical violence. Although the group doesn't know exactly what happened, it quickly becomes clear that the spies weren't prepared for the dangers of the ruins. Something within the ruins killed them, and the lesson is clear: anyone not ready to face these perils won't survive. The group of heroes continues on and eventually reaches the main hall of the ruins. As soon as they enter, they are greeted by an army of skeletons and ghosts that waste no time launching an attack. The experienced warriors and Chao Qing Ci bravely jump into the fight to defend the group, but something curious happens. Despite the aggression of the enemies, they avoid attacking Lu Shu. The ghosts and skeletons can sense the immense power of the sword Lu Shu carries, and this power fills them with overwhelming fear. While the others fight with all their strength, Lu Shu remains safe, almost untouched, as the enemies deliberately steer clear of him. However, Lu Shu's moment of calm doesn't last long. As he observes the battle around him, he notices something eerie. The death of the spies wasn't caused by the ruins directly, but by their own leader. The leader of the spies had absorbed the souls of his comrades, transforming into a powerful and vengeful ghost. This entity isn't just stronger than the other ghosts in the room, it's capable of directly attacking the men in black. Most unsettling of all, only Lu Shu can see this ghost. While the rest of the group continues fighting the skeletons, unaware of the real threat, Lu Shu is the only one who can face the ghost. Drawn by a mysterious force, something that seems to call to him from deep within the castle, Lu Shu decides to leave the group. Ignoring the ongoing battle, he follows this strange call into the castle's interior, venturing into an even more dangerous part of the ruins. As he advances through the dark corridors, the ghost follows him, and Lu Shu knows that a confrontation is inevitable. Finally, in a hidden chamber deep within the castle, Lu Shu comes face to face with the ghost, the leader of the spies, in a battle that will determine both their fates. The fight is fierce, but Lu Shu, armed with his powerful sword and sharp wit, manages to defeat the ghost once and for all. The creature, having absorbed the souls of his comrades, was far stronger than Lu Shu had anticipated, but the victory is his. After defeating the ghost, Lu Shu realizes he has reached the very heart of the ruins, a place no one had ever set foot in before. In the main hall of the castle, something catches his attention. Lu Shu grabs the mysterious object, immediately feeling a surge of power course through his body. He barely has time to process what he's found when something extraordinary happened. Just as it seemed like the men in black were about to be defeated by the army of skeletons and ghosts, time comes to a complete stop. The ruins, which had been the setting of a fierce battle, start to fade away before everyone's eyes. The spectral warriors, the traps, the corridors, everything that made this place dangerous, disappears as if it had never existed, returning everyone to a sort of normalcy. It's as though the ruins were never there. When time resumes, the men in black, stunned by what just happened, rush to tend to the wounded. Though the battle had been intense and many of their comrades were gravely injured, some managed to escape unharmed. Those who survived are paid generously for the weapons and artifacts they obtained during the mission, as the government's rules forbid them from keeping such items. The weapons they collected are deemed too dangerous to be left in civilian hands, so they are confiscated and compensated with money. Meanwhile, everyone in the camp believes Lu Shu is dead. After the mysterious disappearance of the ruins and the chaos that followed, there's no sign of him, and rumors of his possible death begin to spread. But to everyone's surprise, Lu Shu suddenly reappears, bursting in with a triumphant smile, and, most importantly, with a full arsenal. The weapons he acquired during the adventure aren't just powerful, they represent a business opportunity. He's more than ready to make a fortune selling them, sparking envy and admiration among those who see him. Back home, Lu Shu is greeted by his sister, Lu Xiaoyu, who has been worried the entire time he was inside the ruins. With her arms crossed and a stern expression, she immediately scolds him for making her wait so long and causing her so much distress. However, the reprimand doesn't last long. Lu Shu, always clever, offers her something to eat as a way of apologizing, and the gesture quickly calms her down. Their sibling bond is strong, and although Lu Xiaoyu constantly worries about him, she knows her brother always returns safely, even from the most dangerous situation. And so, life returns to normal for both of them, or at least, it appears to. Each resumes their routine. Lu Shu tests his new abilities, which have evolved thanks to his connection with the object he found, which turns out to be the Eye of the Matrix. No one knows that he possesses this powerful artifact, not even the men in black, who are still searching for clues about its whereabouts. Lu Shu's abilities have reached a new level, and he secretly hones them, knowing that this power could give him the edge in future battles. On the other hand, the men in black, now back at their base, prepare for the inevitable war on the horizon. The disappearance of the ruins and the strange pause in time have made them certain that something much bigger is coming. Their leader, along with the rest of the High Command, begins planning, aware that when the conflict erupts, every person, every being with special abilities, will have to choose a side. It will be a fight for power, and those with artifacts like the Eye of the Matrix will play a crucial role in the outcome. Meanwhile, Lu Shu remains silent. Although the world around him continues to turn, he knows he holds an object coveted by many, an artifact that could change the course of events. With the promise of greater challenges on the horizon, Lu Shu prepares himself, aware that his decisions and his ability to wield the power of the Eye of the Matrix will be key to what lies ahead. The calm following his return is only temporary, a brief lull before the storm. Lu Shu, Lu Xiaoyu, and the men in black all stand on the brink of a larger conflict, where abilities, alliances, and accumulated power will determine the future of everyone. So, there you have it, and spare me, great lord, it's not just about saving the world with incredible powers, but doing it with style. Between mysteries, explosions, and loads of humor, Lu Shu shows us that life with superpowers can be as chaotic as it is fun.